Visual style settings. Let's start with our conceptual. And conceptual is really shading in transition from cool to warm colors. Cool are the blues and greens, and warm colors are the reds and yellows and oranges. And so we transition from one to the other, and that's what we get for conceptual. Next, let's go to hidden. Hidden removes the obscured lines and makes these 3D objects look as though they're solid. And the benefit for this is it's rather easy on our video card or graphics card. And so if you got a slow machine or a slow graphics card, it's a good way of seeing it in 3D without having to push that graphics card too much. Let's next go to realistic. Realistic has the objects with its smoothing on and shading on, and also it has its materials. So if we have things like glass or wood or carpeting, it applies that. So this is a good setting to get a good final look at things before we actually do our renderings. Next, let's go to shaded. And shaded is pretty much the same thing as realistic, except the lighting is smooth instead of the smoothest, and the textures are turned off. Let's go shaded with edges. Shaded with edges, it's just like shaded, except you notice that the ISO lines are displayed with a default of 4. So we see the edges and we see the 4 ISO lines. Let's go to shades of gray. Shades of gray then takes and puts all the colors as it puts it all as shades of gray or monochrome, so it's varying shades of white to black or different levels of gray. So we can see lights and shadows in this case, so we can see what happens with our lighting in particular. Next, let's go to sketchy. Sketchy is how it looks if it was hand sketch or a napkin sketch. The advantage of this is that it doesn't give the client a look of finished product, that we're still in design. And wireframe. Let's go to wireframe. Wireframe is pretty much identical to the 2D wireframe visual style, except that in the 3D mode, the UCS is displayed, and we get to see this UCS here where it's parked at when we're working in that 3D mode, when we're working in wireframe versus 2D wireframe. And if we go over here to X-ray, X-ray allows us to see through an object. It's opacity. Opacity is the ability to see through an object. So when it's opaque, you can't see it through it. The opacity property is set to 50%. This makes it look like we can see halfway through the object. So these are all of our visual styles, with the exception of 2D wireframe. We've covered all these different styles, and you can use any one that you feel works for you at the moment.